hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night to my friends and family near and far. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and information's definitely taking center stage. It's good to be back with you on this Wednesday. And I am Sabrina. I am the host of Sabrina Speaks, broadcasting every Monday through Friday, except for public holidays, from 5 on till 7. And it is good, like I said, to be back. Informative conversations, excellent dialogue. And I welcome you, and I thank all of you for continuing to like and sharing and subscribing, telling your friends about the Sabrina Speaks platform as we continue to grow here, one episode at a time. And tonight is definitely no different, because we're going to go into a light discussion and just break down. I just came across it, and there were some statistics that were in the public circulation. Good information, of course. But what I'm talking about, we're going to be breaking down something that has a lot of impact on every household, every young person planning for their future, and every Caymanian who is trying to advance, and every employer just trying to keep their business running. Earlier today, I was speaking to a company, and yeah, it's it's the same old woes that we're continuing to hear. And I'm going to be very honest with you, it's becoming a bit frustrating for some of the employers and employees alike. So I don't think it's just one-sided. But what I'm actually speaking about is the June 2026 labor demand report from WORC that shows a very active job market here in the Cayman Islands. I must admit, it really looks good. Because almost 1,019 job postings, this is on their website. You can go on their website, Facebook page, and you can see that. Some of the images that I'll be sharing with you today is taken directly from their website. I just thought we would break it down and just look at it holistically here on this episode of Sabrina Speaks. Because what it actually showed is, again, almost 1,900 job postings in a month, and more than 11,500 postings in total. And that is going back in the first half of this year. So for the last 6 months, we're talking about 11,500 postings so far for this year. But there is a flip to this, because on paper, that sounds like opportunities everywhere. But numbers don't really tell the whole story when I looked into it. And then you're hearing what people are actually saying from the perspective of employers and the perspective of persons looking to elevate themselves and just look for other opportunities. So tonight in this discussion, this episode, we're going to look at what the report says, what it means, and how it compares to a real world situation Caymanians face right here in small island economy that depends heavily on imported labor. That was a huge takeaway from this. And even though it's not saying it loud, the numbers and the graphs actually paint a different picture from the realities that are on the ground. Now, please note, this is non-political. It's non-political. This is civic education. This is about understanding the system that we live in so that we can make more informed decisions about our future. And with the realities, I'm hoping that employers, employees alike, and the realities that is just out there in the public's domain will actually say exactly what needs to be said and breaking it down in layman's terms as best I can based on the information that is put out there by our own WORC. All I'm doing is breaking it down. But please, before we get into that, the views expressed by callers, guests, and online commenters are their own and not those of Bridge Media Limited, its affiliates, the Sabrina Speaks Show, or the host. This program is for general information only and not a substitute for legal, medical, financial, or professional advice. Now, all participants are reminded to speak responsibly and respectfully, and any content that is defamatory, unlawful, or harmful is strictly prohibited and will not be endorsed or tolerated. Continuing and listening, viewing on whatever platform you are implies acceptance to this disclaimer. Our number here to join in live, and I always love the call-ins. I love the WhatsApp. I love you commenting from whatever platform you're streaming us live on. I really love the engagement, to be honest with you. But should you want to join in live on the conversation by giving us a call or sending us a WhatsApp, that number is 345-936-8255. And make sure, again, you continue to like, follow, share, and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And you're always notified as well, making it easier for you to navigate if you're watching us live on Facebook or even on YouTube as well. It's easy. You get those notifications. So there you have it. And I'm hoping that you'll stick around or definitely tell your friends, hey, Sabrina is live and she's getting into some reports and what those figures really means for us, hoping that we could give a full and total picture. And there are some questions that needs to be asked that can complete this entire cycle. But you know how we do it here, because we like the structure, I like the format, and based on your feedback, I'm getting you like it too. Let's take a look at what's happening with the weather, because OMG, allergies have been triggered. And even though we look like we got a little break, I don't think that's going to be for long. But I leave it to the experts of the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. And for the record, I don't have the forecast yet for tomorrow, but I definitely can give you forecast that was available on their website for tonight. And let's go with what we have from them at the time we are going live. The synopsis is calling for a few isolated showers that are likely at times today as residual moisture nearby continues due to a recently passed tropical wave, which is moving into the Bay of Honduras. Now, this conversion from daytime heating may allow for periods of some showers in the afternoon as a result, and lingering amounts of Saharan dust will continue to decrease throughout the day as it continues to move around the periphery of this high pressure system. Now, as you can see here, this is live radar imagery that I have up here on the screen. This shows isolated showers in and around the Cayman area with general movement towards the west-northwest. For that, the forecast for tonight is calling for mostly clear skies with a 20% chance of showers, mainly over the sister islands, and temperatures will fall to the low to mid 80s. Winds will be easterly 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. There will be a low to tide tonight at 11:32, a high tide at 4:20 a.m. tomorrow morning, and another low is expected at 11:19 tomorrow morning. Sun will set this evening at 7:06, and sun will rise tomorrow morning at 5:54. The outlook is calling for a series of tropical waves to drift across the Western Caribbean on Thursday and Friday. Now, these tropical waves will maintain the chance of a few showers at times, with scattered showers expected on Friday. Winds and seas will also increase on Thursday, with a small craft advisory to be issued and expected to linger through the next few days. Now, from late Friday night into early Saturday morning, a moderate to locally thick concentration, here we go again, of Saharan dust. Once again, will move into the Western Caribbean that will be bringing hazy and drier conditions. And because of that, our local meteorologist will be putting a dust alert is likely to be issued on Friday night. We will definitely keep you posted on that. And I found myself just going crazy yesterday. I think a couple of you picked it up. Yeah, it was bad yesterday for me. At one point last night, I even lost my voice, and it's still a little croaky. I think this is what's going on outside with the dust. So yeah, I am going to, like many of you, be taking precaution in the next couple of days, because that next plume, as I'm seeing on other media channels as well, is forecasted to be very thick coming into the weekend. But we know we're going to keep it locked to local media sources here for the latest updates. And definitely we will be keeping you abreast with all of those developments as they become available to us here as well. But good afternoon. Welcome, welcome one and all. It's good to be back with you on this Wednesday. Yeah, we have a short week here. And I know a lot of you have gone already on vacation, summer vacation, and some of you are planning your time off. I'm going to arrange some time too with Sandra so that we don't go missing both at the same time. But yeah, I was thinking about that today. With the exception of public holidays, and I think for Christmas, that's the only time that I took off in a year. Balance. Life is all about balance. So yeah, I intend to take just a couple days. Don't worry, I won't be that long. But I'm going to arrange so that two of us is not MIA for the same time. Definitely not. So yeah, look out for that. I'll give you ample notice for that as well as we continue to just navigate life. Yeah. But I know a lot of you are traveling, and it's good. I know that you're tuning in even after the fact. And I appreciate that. And thank you for the messages as well. And the feedback that I'm getting, clarity and questions. And I'm here for it. So thank you so much. Let's take a look at what's making the news headlines this evening on Sabrina Speaks before getting into the substantive discussion. And we see our content creators in Bloom are sending us beautiful pictures for today, by the way. And so we get the content creators in Bloom and content creators in food, and we got a content creator in scenery. So they all come in at different times. But once we get them, we definitely share them with you. And words of encouragement as well. We expect and we look forward to those every evening. Let's take a look at news, get straight into it. Local news this evening, we see, yes, a new chapter has begun for the Cayman Islands Civil Service. In a special ceremony today in Cabinet, Honorable Gloria McPhail-Nixon took her oath of office and was formally sworn in as Deputy Governor and head of the Civil Service. With decades of experience and a record of dedicated public service, she steps into this historic role committed to strengthening the foundations of excellence across government. As the first woman to hold the office, her appointment marks a significant milestone and an inspiration for future generation of women leaders. The Department of e-Government is encouraging residents to include the Cayman Islands identification card, My eID, in their hurricane season preparations. Now, officials says secure government-issued identification can help ensure quick access to emergency services, shelters, and recovery assistance across all 3 islands. My eID also allows cardholders to update personal details online through My Info. From July 1st, eligibility for the My eID has expanded to all permanent residents, whether or not they hold the right to work, and to eligible spouses, civil partners, and dependents of Caymanians and permanent residents. Now, the phased rollout continues as the government advances to secure national identity programs supporting future digital services. Applicants may now book enrollment on appointments online, and you have all of the QR code there and all of the information if you want to get it. I had an entire segment on that. I did it very early when it was only for Caymanian status holders, And I must tell you, the process was actually very easy. So it's been extended now to other persons. I can assure you, you want to make sure you jump in on this because the demand is definitely going to go up. Other local news, and as reported by CMR, CMR is reporting that 2 people have been arrested and an unlicensed firearm recovered during a police operation in Northside on Sunday, July 5th. Royal Cayman Islands Police Service and Customs and Border Control officers executed a search under the Firearms and Misuse of Drugs Act at a residence on Lariat Road around 3 p.m., where suspected ganja, cocaine, and cash were found. Now, a 33-year-old man and a 36-year-old woman were arrested on suspicion of drug offenses. Officers later searched nearby properties and vehicles, recovering more suspected ganja and a firearm. All items were seized and the investigation remains ongoing. Other local news here this evening, and we see where Customs and Border Control has introduced a new assisted traveler consent form to strengthen protections for minors entering the Cayman Islands. Beginning July 13th, the form will be required for children traveling alone or with adults who are not their parent or legal guardian. CBC says that the measure will help officers verify travel arrangements, prevent human trafficking and exploitation, and ensures that compliance with international child protection standards are adhered to. Parents and guardians are encouraged to complete the form in advance and have all supporting documents ready upon arrival. As we turn our attention into what news is making regional headlines this evening here, we start off with Jamaica. Yes, CMV is reporting that a defamation lawsuit brought by government ministers 𝗟𝗏𝗏 against PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell has been settled. The case, which was before the Supreme Court, stemmed from statements Dr. Campbell made on a political platform in July of 2023. Details of the settlement were not disclosed, but today's development brings the matter to a close following months of legal proceedings. Great Britain News is reporting that the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has raised hopes of a potential bank holiday if England wins the World Cup for the first time since 1966. While no formal commitment has been made, the Prime Minister suggested that the government would look favorably at marking such a historic moment. Now, the comments come as excitement builds around England's campaign, with supporters already discussing how the country might celebrate a long-awaited victory. Also out of the UK, we see at Wilmington today, the Queen shared a warm moment with Peter and Harriet Phillips during Day 10 of the championships at All Eagle Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club in London. The royal family's presence added to the excitement of the tournament as fans packed center court for another full day of world-class tennis. Now, the Queen's appearance continues her tradition of supporting one of Britain's most celebrated sporting events. We see where Gulf News reports that Egypt has filed a formal complaint with FIFA following its 3-2 World Cup loss to Argentina. The Egyptian Federation is requesting an investigation into the referee's handling of the match and several video assistant referee decisions they believe affected the outcome. Now, the complaint comes amid growing debate over officiating standards at the tournament, with Egypt calling for a full review of the match procedures. In another international news here this evening, we see tensions in the Gulf have escalated sharply as reports indicated that the United States has resumed strikes on Iran, just hours after Donald Trump declared an interim agreement to end the conflict. U.S. officials says that the latest strikes aim to curb Iran's ability to threaten shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian media, meanwhile, claims Tehran is preparing a massive attack on U.S. bases following earlier strikes on sites in Bahrain and Kuwait. Explosions have also been reported at military locations inside Iran. Now, the situation remains highly volatile as both sides trade warnings as access next steps. We will continue to keep our eye on this as this continues to unfold, because it is like a roller coaster, let me tell you. As we turn our attention over into the business markets closing for today, before giving you some headlines and updates, even on cricket. Yeah, I got a little bit on that too. We're not going to be biased, but let's take a look at the business markets closing for today, because global markets closed sharply lower today as renewed U.S.-Iran tensions sent oil prices surging and triggered broad sell-offs. Now, the Dow fell 576 points to 52,348, while the S&P 500 slipped to 7,482. Now, Europe also tumbled, with Germany DAX down 2.3% and the UK FTSE off by 1.66%. In Asia, Japan's Nikkei dropped more than 2%, and India's Sensex plunged 1,677 points. Brent crude spiked above $78 a barrel, adding to inflation concerns and driving risk of off sentiment across all major indices. And yeah, we got to keep it and get you locked and all excited for this upcoming weekend, but starting tomorrow, because at the World Cup yesterday, matches delivered high drama as Argentina edged Egypt 3-2 in the late comeback, while Switzerland advanced after a tense penalty shootout against Colombia. Now, those results complete the quarterfinal lineup. Yep, in case you're under a rock. And tomorrow, July the 9th, France meets Morocco in Boston in a highly anticipated rematch of their 2022 semifinal. Now, both sides enter in strong form, setting the stage for a tight, high-stakes quarterfinal clashes. And yeah, I'm just making sure my blood pressure cuff is not far, because boy, what a thing of emotions. But you know what, to all of my cricket fans out there, the West Indies have touched down in Guyana ahead of their ODI series against New Zealand. Now, the three matches bowl off on July 11th, 13th, and 16th at the Guyana National Stadium in Providence. Excitement is already building, however, with Minister Stephen Jacobs on hand to welcome the squad as they prepare for a big week of regional cricket. So see, we're not biased over here. We're even covering a little bit on cricket, even though I have no clue about the game. It's not about me. I'm just keeping you abreast of everything that is happening, and I am happy that I can report it here to all of you. That wraps up our weather news, both international, regional, and our sports segment here on Sabrina Speaks for today, Wednesday. And good evening, good morning, good night to all of you joining us by extension from afar. Hey, I see you, Australia. You're up early. Good to have you joining us. Always a pleasure. Yeah, I know. You catch up. That's okay. We're good. You're always there. We appreciate that very, very much. Now it's that time where we say happy birthday to everybody who's celebrating life, celebrating a birthday, celebrating an anniversary from all of us here on the Sabrina Speaks platform. Happy birthday. Many, many more to you. And we celebrate that with you as well. And of course, we have to send our condolences to all of those families who are mourning the loss of a loved one. And we want you to know that, during this difficult time, you are remembered. And we're just making you know that our thoughts and prayers are with you all as you navigate this time as well. So, yep, that's where we take it. No one is left out. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. That's how we roll here on the Sabrina Speaks family. Just pulling up some images, so it's going to make sure, because the agriculture has a public statement that an invitation actually, that I want to share with you all here this evening, just grabbing the image so that it makes sense for all of you. And all of those summer camps that are still going on, have you registered your kids? Have you all registered your kids? And the deadline for the polish etiquette is still there. You still have time to register your young adults should you want them to participate in any of these events that are happening here. So I'm going to be grabbing these for you. There we go. Kim and Brack, you're not left out either. Some of these have already started, but here we go. Let me grab this image because the Department of Agriculture is advising farmers and the public of a public auction that will be held under Section 62 and 63 of the Animals Act. Now they got 4 swines. Yeah, swines. Mixed color, breed, and age will be auctioned on Saturday, July 18th from 9 a.m. at the pasture across from the commercial center on 𝗿𝗏𝗄𝗏 Drive out there in Bodden Town. Now, officials also note that slaughter eligibility begins on July 21st, following the required dewormer withdrawal period. Now, for more information on this, the public is encouraged to contact the department, and they can be reached on 947-3090, or you can always send email to agriculture@gov.ky. Go onto their website as well for more information and direction. So there you go, some key dates here for you, and we want to let you know about this as well. And remember, we said that Polish Presence Consulting is doing their etiquette week. Now, registration deadlines is fast approaching, and that is July 17th of 2026. The QR code is up there. Melanie did a phenomenal job. We're excited to have her come back so that we can deal with national protocols. But this one is going to be very, very informative. Kicks off from July 27th to the 23rd. To the 31st, sorry, and all of this will take place at the Intergenerational Hub. So if you know a young man or a woman, a young lady that wants to up their ante, preparing them for the workforce and just these things go with them through life, you want to register them for this. Also, Cayman Brack, look, Sister Island Sports Unit, summer camps over there has already begun. Yeah, they begun yesterday. The football camp kicked off yesterday, and that runs until the 10th. And we see where the basketball camp kicks off on the 13th to the 17th. Swimming camp from July 20th to 24th, and and then cricket camp again from the 27th to the 31st. And then you got that rookie lifeguard camp from August 3rd to the 7th. So full packed agenda here for all of our young men and women, children over there in Cayman Brack. And you can see it here for yourself where these are going to be taking place between the Cayman Brack Sports Complex, the Layman Scott High School Court for the basketball, the Cayman Brack Sports Complex for the cricket. And please note that anything dealing with swimming, that you must be able to swim a 25-meter unassisted. And that is the same goes for the rookie lifeguard camp. So you don't want anybody attending these camps if they can't swim, okay? So this is there. We have it there for the Brack. And we know what's happening here on Cayman with this huge, huge summer camp that kicked off here and runs straight to August. Yeah. So good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Connie Bonnie's in the house. How you doing today, my love? It's so good. Buenas. I see you starring. You went pick up your gift. I see you starring on 𝗿𝗏 Thompson's. Girl, I see you. I see you. And you sharing with us your beautiful flower today, your orchid. Thank you. My content creator in bloom shares with us her beautiful orchids for today. And here's another one she shared with us for today as well. Girl, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yep. Appreciate it. Love you lots. And enjoy your gift. Yeah. First Lady Paisley, good evening to you as well. Good to have you here with us. Donnie is in the house. Miss Green Valley Nursery, open from 7 until 4, Monday to Saturday. They're closed on Sundays, is also here. You ask me where I see it. 𝗿𝗏 Thompson's got you big up on Facebook. You when you just posing, you get with your gift. You think I didn't see you? Oh yeah. Donnie is sharing that beautiful orchid with us for today. This and many more items like this, I'm quite sure he's available over there at Green Valley Nursery, 7 to 4, Monday to Friday in Lower Valley. You can't miss it. You can't miss this. Beautiful. Beautiful landscaping there, and she's definitely going to keep you up to date and give you ideas that you can use for making your spaces very inviting. She's shared some pictures, really cute spaces Donnie has been able to do. Aliano is with us. Trouble. Trouble. Aliano, good evening to you, sir. How are you? Always good to have you here. Good evening to you as well, Annie. Always good. Yep, and North Carolina love is in here. That's Marshall. What are you up to? How are you dealing with the heat over there, my love? Or is it not as bad as we got it here? Yep, I don't see it. Where? It's on Facebook. A.L. Thompson's. I passed it, and I was silly. I should have grabbed the picture. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. But it's there. A.L. Thompson's. Yeah, you picked up your prize. Red flag. Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, you up to no good. You are trouble. Yep. Yes, Connie, you're there. Big up. Somewhere it is. I should have grabbed it. Yeah, go look. You posing. You never realized you were posing? You're posing with your gift. They got you big up. Oh my goodness. For those of you just jumping on the live, eating, really? Aliana say he's home chilling, eating fried snapper. Good for you. Well, Fred is, he must be eating. Ethnic fatigue must be got Alfred this evening. He not say nothing. Damian Henry, I hope he's okay. He's late for class today. Some of you, I just look forward to you like it's almost mental roll call. Yeah. But oh my goodness. Oh, really? Thank you, Marshall, for sharing that with us. The heat here is terrible. UK, everybody's complaining, man. But this dust that we're dealing here with, I never had a problem before. I could be honest with you. I can't recall telling you that I've had a problem because this is not the first time. But the plumes of dust that is coming, the Saharan dust, is really at a different level. And I even heard my aunt saying, her eyes burning and itchy and that sort of stuff. And what I'm feeling, it's in my throat. It's like I'm losing my voice. And I try my best. I love sitting outside in a screened-in area. And I don't even do that now because I realize that it impacts me. And you don't even realize it. You're thinking something is in your eye. But my eyes get very irritated. So I've been finding myself using drops, the Visine, to flush it. And I'm not going outside. But the voice comes and goes, which some who are around me don't mind that because they say, at least you hush your mouth. I'm just trouble, period. Anyhow, you think I give you all trouble here? You need to check around me. Those who really know me, I just give trouble. So when I lose my voice, everybody's like, yes. 24, 48 hours. Yes. All love, though. All love. Donna, how you doing, my friend? Thank you. And the same to you and the family. You and the Davis and my twins and Winston and all the grandbabies. Everybody, when you're going out again, tell them to be careful out there because these weather. So, yeah, I know he likes the water. But yeah, and we love him too. So please give my love to everybody there on that little stretch. But this evening on Sabrina Speaks, we're going to be breaking down, as I said, for those of you just jumping on the live, we're going to be breaking down some information here, hoping that it'll bring serious value to a discussion that is timely, but puts a clear understanding. And I want to applaud. First of all, let me be clear. I want to applaud by year, June. Yeah, by year. I'm just making sure I grab my images here. I just want to applaud WORC for putting out this information, first of all. And for a little context is the only reason why I brought up the conversation, because we're hearing people talk. Thank you. We're hearing people speak of the situations that we have at hand here at home. And when reports like this come out, it's important for us to avail ourselves, go research it and all that sort of stuff and put it into context, which is what inspired this discussion today. I know a lot of you may say, oh my God, she's coming again. I'm only breaking down what information is out here in the public's domain, making sure that we can understand it and explain it. And you know what? If you're spending 2 hours with me every evening, I appreciate you, and we can make well of it as we continue to grow and explain here. He is oh, who woke the bear? Oh God, he's awoken. Yep. But yes, what I'm talking about is looking at the Jones Labor Demand Report in clear and simple terms. I'm going to be as simple or as layman as I can put it with breaking this down based on what my take back is from this report and examining the numbers that is placed out there and what it really means for us as Cayman and Caymanians, employers and employees, job seekers, and that sort of stuff. Because as I said at the intro, you are, where are your orchids for today, Alfred? Going back to the topic, with 1,900 job postings in 1 month, based on what is placed out there, the market, I must say, the environment is active. But when the most advertised and the highest paying roles that we're seeing based on the data and the flyers, what I love with them is they placed the flyers there, the graphs and all that sort of stuff to make it make sense. When the most advertised and highest paying roles require advanced degrees and long experience pathways, how many Caymanians are actually positioned to fill those roles? So what my aim is this evening is to unpack the realities of a small island economy that depends on imported labor. My aim is to also show or explain the gaps between the demand and Caymanian supply and the missing labor metrics that truly show Caymanians are what they're doing in, I see it, in the workforce. I will repeat, this is non-political, non-political. This is civic education. And all I'm doing, as I said, all I'm doing is, well, you've been, I don't know where you're getting this food from, but boy. I'm just putting it into perspective for all of you. And I invite you to stick and stay with me. And I appreciate you joining me. And before we get into that, so that we won't be distracted, let's share Alfred's orchid for today. He's content creation in food. What that is now? Tell me what that is. Tell me what that is. My orchids are late today. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, butter chicken. Okay, it's butter chicken with naan and white rice. And oh, those vegetables look delish. I hope you ate the vegetables now. I hope you ate the vegetables. See, we got all kind of content creators here. Oh my goodness. But thank you, Alfred. Damian Henry, I hope you're good. Oh, good. And he reported he ate them all, every last bite. Thank you, my love. Thank you, my love. 345-936 if you want to join in on this. But let me just present some of the stats that I have here that's placed out into the domain, public's domain. I will grab some of these graphs here, and I got to make sure that they flow so that you see it for yourself, right? Here we go. Yeah, there we go. So please pardon me, because you know how it goes when you're trying to do a presentation and you produce. Okay, what the WORC report is saying pretty much, and I want to break down the numbers for you as they have put it out here into the public's domain, okay? Here's one. The report highlights that there were 1,896 jobs postings in June of this year. And it also said, there we go, 1,896 jobs postings in June and 11,519 job postings for between January and June. That's 6 months. 99% of all of these postings were in the private sector. And most advertised occupations that they saw as well were lawyers, supply and distribution managers, and guess what? Mathematicians. Yeah. They also declared that these were the occupations, the industry, and all of that sort of stuff. And what we are going to share here with you, so that it all makes sense, is that some of the highest paying positions or occupations were that of lawyers, which represented or has an annual of like 119,000. Supply distribution managers that showed 187,000, and mathematicians that can go like 176,000. So what we see based on the data that was here is that Cayman's job market is very busy. And we're seeing that employers are actively looking for people. But the type of jobs being advertised matters more than the number. And what we're showing, or what it's really showing, is that of these roles, right, we are seeing where these roles require advanced degrees, specialized training, years on top of years of experience, and professional certifications along with them, right? And this is not a list of entry-level jobs, what this is actually saying, No, it's not. It's not entry-level jobs. This is a list of highly specialized, high-skilled positions. Now, when you look at that in its entirety, right? Looking at the three occupations in themselves, the occupations that were highlighted in this labor demand report that is in the public's domain, the roles appear at the top of the list, both frequency of job postings and the highest salaries that go along with them. But as I said earlier, most don't actually know what these jobs involve or even why they're in such high demand here. Now, when you look at, let's break it down for lawyers, right? There's one here that breaks it down. There's one here that things for lawyers. When you look at what they're asking for attorneys, hold on, just bear with me. Yes. When you look at some of these for lawyers, in the legal field, we've heard Mr. Samamber speak about it. Lawyers are the backbone right here of the Cayman, of our very own Cayman's financial and corporate sectors, right? And what they actually do in their roles is that they advise businesses on legal matters, draft contracts, handle regulatory compliance, and they represent clients also in disputes. Here in Cayman, most legal work is tied to international finance. Remember, we're a financial jurisdiction, right? And that includes mergers, acquisitions, investment funds, trust, and even corporate restructuring. So in these roles identified as lawyers with that type of salary coming in, right? Those roles require years of university education, professional certification as well, and specialized experience. Just because here in Cayman, most of the legal work is tied to international finance. But Cayman's financial industry is also global and complex. So the demand for lawyers is consistently high. And that is because becoming a lawyer takes 6 to 10 years. And Cayman's small population simply cannot produce enough graduates to meet that demand. That's not the only industry, though. When you look then at the other areas that was pointed out in this, we have a area, supply distribution and related managers, right? Now, these managers oversee how goods move from suppliers to warehouse, stores, and customers, and they make sure that products arrive on time and that they're in good condition. Also at the right cost. You got your merchandiser and that sort of stuff, right? Here at home, where almost everything is imported, logistics is critical part of just day-to-day life here. And what you find with these positions is that those positions requires responsibilities and carries responsibilities that includes managing shipping and freight, coordination of inventory, negotiating also with suppliers. And we will even see some of these very same position means that they're also solving delivery delays, quick on the feet, understanding logistics, not only locally, but overseas. And in addition to that, overseeing warehouse and retail items. Sounds easy enough, you think? These job titles, as cited in this report, of senior logistic roles requires 10 to 15 years of experience in large operations. And the data shows that Cayman's logistics sector, again, is small. So Caymanians have fewer opportunities to gain that depth of experience, which is why demand remains high. Another one, as stated in this, mathematicians. Meaning we need more education. Mathematicians use, in that job title in itself, they use math to analyze information, build models, and even help and assist businesses make decisions. And what we see is that right here at home, these mathematicians, they often work in financial services, insurance companies, risk management, and also data analytics. And their responsibilities that comes with those roles, they handle financial modeling, forecasting, that sort of stuff way in advance. Risk calculations, which is huge in this volatile geopolitical tensions that we're in. Logistical movements, blocking of the Straits of Hormuz, how that could impact on a business, even financial guidance and that sort of stuff. And also statistical analysis reports for guidance of businesses. Actuarial supports as well is a part of that job function. And data-driven decision tools, they must be versed. This is like almost like the brain power of a person with those type of capabilities. That's what they have to bring to the table. And what we see with those roles, trust me, this will all make sense. With these roles, they require degrees in math, statistics, actuarial sciences, and or data science as well. what we notice here in our very own education pipeline, and it's proven, we produce very few graduates in these fields each year, which is why, again, the demand is high. And if you look at those salaries are strong. Okay? You may say, well, why did she go into depth with all of that? I went into depth because it matters. These occupations that is into this report shows us something very, very important. It shows us that our very own Cayman labor demanding, what it's demanding actually, is concentrated right now, based on the data, in high skill, high qualification fields that, as proven, takes years of training and experience. And what we're seeing is that the demand is real. Business is here. They need to operate. But what we're seeing, based on the information that is placed in the public's domain, is that at the end of the day, there is a huge demand. And the demand is real, but the number of Caymanians that are currently qualified for these roles, the data is proven, is small. And understanding that these jobs actually require, what these jobs require for qualifications, experience, and skill set, and then what the role requires, helps us, I hope, to understand the gap between labor demand and Caymanian supply. And it is for that reason why imported labor continues to play such a large role in our economy. Don't shoot the messenger, please. This is data that is coming out based on the job postings that is now mandatory under the new immigration reform. This is not me pulling it out of the air. This is available on the WORC's Facebook page, breaking this down. Now, there is a section in it that we can break down into proven labor demands versus Caymanian supply, okay? And we have roughly 30,000 average, 30,000 Caymanians total. Only a small percentage studied law, studied math, the mathematics at that level, trained in supply chain management, and have 10 to 15 years of senior management experience. So again, when the report shows demand for these roles, it doesn't automatically mean Caymanians can fill them. This is not about ability. It's about numbers at the end of the day, which is every graph that they have placed out there to be digested is showing and pointing in that direction. When you look then at the pace in which our economy is growing, what we see based on these numbers is that the economy is growing faster than Caymanians can be trained. Yeah. You can expand a business for 6 months, but it takes 6 to 10 years to produce a lawyer. It takes 8 to 12 months to produce a senior manager. And it takes 6 to 10 years to produce a mathematician or an analyst, that would be able to move and occupy some of these positions at the pace in which we're seeing the demand in our employment environment. The economy has no time to waste or wait for jurisdictions to play catch up. And the economy is proven to move very quickly. And this is why, my friends, human development takes time, but you must also have it on the top of an agenda that you want to be active and able to grow, create an environment, create access to tertiary education, more opportunities, even in adult, that is easier achievable. And without human development or pathways to make that actually a reality, these numbers will always be at the height that it is. We can look at the imported labor structure, and that is a structural thing within our employment market, right? This is not optional. No, employment labor is structural. It is not something that you can, oh, I'll do it, I won't do it. No, it's not an option. We see this problem in other small island development states. You have heard me talk about this over and over here. It's just the realities of small island development states, or small population, or high economic activity, high labor demand, and limited local supply that is available. So imported labor is not a choice. As hard as that may be to digest, it's a fact. It is a built-in reality for our economic model that we're not going to be able to get away from. And we get a better understanding as to why, with all of these numbers, without additional context, will speak why you feel as though you're outnumbered. All of these beautiful pay scales that are up there, when you look at the reality on the ground, without these qualifications, then really, what are the numbers actually saying? 𝗵𝗲'𝗵𝗵 is weighing in this evening. So who's at fault? Other than essential services, why would you choose to have a business in the Cayman Islands population of 30,000 natives? What do they expect to find here? I'm just being realistic, and I'm happy that you are. But the data is out there. Go on Facebook, go on WORC. The link is there as well. You can read the full report for yourself. Exactly. I have said, 𝗵𝗲'𝗵𝗵, the environment and other members of government has said, we have created a service-based economy. We make our money based on what services we provide. In order for us to provide those services, you need the right people holding the right skill sets in order for that to actually make it make sense. We are a service-based economy. Now, whether or not we're at a crossroads where you want to change that because we have seen where we're growing faster or people are feeling left out, our numbers are what our numbers are, then you look at really, we have to play catch up. We got to do better with our education. We got to do better with creating access to tertiary studies, refresher courses, or access to courses that you can do and give people a chance. How long? How long can you wait? I've given the timelines. And what you see is that there is an understanding of the imbalance. We got to understand the imbalance, because when 99% of the job postings are in the private sector, not me, what this report is saying, 99% of the job postings are in the private sector, and most require advanced qualification. The labor market naturally fills with imported workers. And that, unfortunately, creates several realities that we were having the conversations We see it, we feel it, we understand it. But are we coming to grips with that reality? Let me share some of those realities with you. Thank you for that, Miss Dorothy. Live happy also weighs in. If they don't have time to wait, why come here to conduct certain types of businesses? They're asking too much for these small islands. It belittles us. The report is there. Are we going to stop incorporations? Are we going to stop limited liabilities? Are we going to slow down these big financial companies from expanding their global reach then, because we got to wait for us to play catch up of probably 2 generations of people that our system have left us behind? I'm just dropping those questions. What are we asking for, Live Happy? What is the right balance? Do we just draw the brakes? Let me just go through some of the unfortunate realities. Caymanians then find ourselves competing in a market where they're not the majority. Imported labor then fills majority of these roles, as we're seeing, and you're feeling it, especially the senior ones. And Caymanians often end up underemployed, stuck in entry-level roles, often overlooked for promotions. How much times have we heard that, even out of the civil service? But let's stick to the data. And Caymanians often end up competing with applicants from countries with millions of graduates. Another reality is that work permit renewals become the norm. Let me break that down. Even when Caymanians apply, employers often renew permits because the role requires experience Caymanians haven't been given the chance to gain. The company then prefers continuity. They have built relationships and they know what they got. They don't know what they're going to get. And yes, now with the 2-year hold on anybody who has an approved work permit, that's 2 years. A Caymanian ain't going to fill that job. Yeah. And then what they find is that the Caymanian applicants is just not ready. So what they do, let's go for a renewal. Oh yeah. I'll make sure I have a local understudy you. But then you're not ready. So let's do another renewal. Caymanian gets frustrated. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm just being pressured by this expatriate, whatever. And I'm not going to last. Boom. Caymanian leaves. By design, or the environment becomes so toxic that the person that they were aspiring to take over from then up with another renewal. Let's continue with the other realities. We see high-paying roles rarely go to Caymanians. We see that. Not because Caymanians lack the ability, as I said earlier, but because the pipeline is just too small. The training time is too long, and the demand is high. And the competition, what we're seeing, is global. Yes. And when you understand work permit renewals patterns here at home, I think it would all make sense, because that, my friends, is a delicate balance. Because these work permit renewals determines who stays in a job, who gets promoted, and whether Caymanians can enter or advance in certain fields. But what we're seeing here, the public rarely sees how these patterns actually work. And I'm hoping that by the time we break this down this evening, that will give a better understanding. Because although the data that is presented is very good, there are a lot of things that would paint a better and brighter, bigger picture of the realities that is happening on the ground. Because we see a lot of employers for the renewal retaining continuity over changing for, let's say, a local, a permanent resident holder, spouse of a Caymanian. And the number one reason permits are renewed is just because of that, continuity. The obvious habit based on these numbers that are out here is that employers obvious to prefer to keep persons who already know the job, may know the clients, the system, and already have gotten familiarized with the workflow. And even when our own locals, Caymanians, apply, companies would often choose stability over transition. Now, one will say, what do you mean stability? You can't block me from working. I bet you they can block a work permit for 2 years. At least they got 2 years stability. So why would you want to choose a PR holder, a Caymanian, over somebody that you know they got locked in for 2 years? The single pattern drives most renewals across the private sector. That's just the reality. When you get those decisions for Caymanians applying for jobs and saying, look, we know you've been understudying Joe, Jane, Esmeralda, whoever, but you're not ready yet. Those not ready decisions. Many Caymanians have come back out feeling so deflated from interviews. Some have attended interviews that they never even knew they attended because the communications go into WORC saying this person was interviewed but never made the cut. And the poor persons didn't even know that they were shortlisted or interviewed because they never received a call. But it fills the space and it checks a box. But hold on. For those who actually get the interview, not ready yet, those decisions. Employers frequently say that applicants lack specific experience, including certification and also international exposure. That's the big one. And then Caymanians is closed, but still not selected. And guess what happens? The work permit is renewed. Because the individual is not ready. A little bit more time. And this, my friends, is creating a cycle where Caymanians then are almost not ready, or what we're seeing, but never chosen. And then you have the other section where you have this high skill fields with long training paths. And what I'm talking about, law, accounting, logistics, IT. You got these fields, right? These data analysts. These fields require years of training, as I alluded to earlier. And right here, the talent pipeline, again, is small. So what we find is that employers then will often renew these work permits, still focusing on the work permit renewal cycle, because Caymanians are still studying or still gaining experience. And guess what happens then? That leads to multi-year renewal cycles. Interns, they love them. But how much years is it going to take for them to come back? They intern here, they intern there, they do a summer here, they come home for Christmas. Yeah. But at the end of the day, work still needs to be continued, right? And during that cycle, renewals continue. You got the other area where internal promotion chains. Yep. Aliano says, I remember job hunting in 2005 to 2006. And let me tell you, see what I'm telling you? These are real stories from real people. I'm only sharing with you the data that is out here. When expatriate employees are promoted internally, what we're seeing, or let's say work permit holders, their previous roles is often filled by another. We have heard you guys say, even with the rollover, they bring them back. And companies want to maintain their internal structure. So what they do, they promote staff who are often recommended by someone that is abroad. And because of those relationships, right, this creates renewal cascades across departments. A lot of you have witnessed this, but are fearful of speaking because you're trying to protect your job. We understand that. But this is a harsh reality. And those numbers are saying something is actually making it all make sense. The experience gap created earlier. Sometimes Caymanians are qualified on paper, but lacks the hands-on experience because they were never given opportunities earlier in their career. And this creates a repeating cycle. Caymanians applies, employers say needs more experience, permit is renewed, Caymanians still can't gain experience, permit is renewed again. And this is one of the most persistent structural issues that we're facing. Yeah. You guys know that I'm not lying. You know that I'm telling the truth. Andrew, how you doing? Good to have you on with us this evening. We need to have more young students understudying in certain sectors of the workforce. A special body assigned to review before any work permits are provided. Otherwise, there will never be any Caymanian filling those posts. Caymanians keep hearing the same record playing. Sorry, you're not ready yet. Not enough experience. Very unfair. Beautiful lady is beautiful. Beautiful lies, ugly truth is weighing in this evening. Cayman on a whole was not ready and is not ready to move away from a service-based economy. Some of these business should not be allowed. It seems like the business control the government. That's a comment. I'm just reading it. Let me continue, because that statement is profound and all of the feedback here is profound. And I'm glad you're following what I'm telling you. I'm just presenting. Go on Facebook, look at workforce opportunities and residency, and you will see the post right there with a lot of these charts that I had there on display for yourself. You go and you read the report. I'm only breaking it down in layman's terms, and you can be the guest of what I'm trying to say to connect the dots, okay? We also see where there's high pressure, high turnover roles, still looking at the reasons to justify renewals. And industries with these high demanding schedules like hospitality, retail management, logistics, constructions, often renew permits because expatriate workers accept, listen to this, they accept the long hours and the high pressure that comes with those roles. And guess what? Employers, let's be honest, if you've ever been an employer, employers fear turnover and choose renewal for stability. This is not pointing fingers saying every Caymanian has an issue, every Caymanian this. No, this is just the reality of the environment that equals high pressure, high turnover roles. Yeah. Speaking about the roles. And then you look then at the whole global recruitment, their preference for global recruitment. Some companies prefer hiring from abroad just because they can select from a larger talent pools with specialized backgrounds. And again, we see where we're constantly evolving. New things are coming on the market. Let's say if I'm in Europe or I'm in Asia right now, the latest trends are coming out that may not be on the Western side. Of course, I'm going to look more attractive when it comes to, let's say, strategy, logistic, political science, that sort of stuff, because of what maybe you're in the region. Horrible example, maybe, but what you get what I'm saying. If I'm aware, okay, let's stick it with AI tools. Understanding where digital is going and AI tools and learning and mastering AI, ain't no place better than Hong Kong and China. Now, if I spent, let's say, 2 or 3 years over there as an expat, What makes you think? And I can demonstrate this is what I can bring to your business that, hey, this is not even really settling in the Western Hemisphere yet, but I got heads up on it and I'm originally from this region. So I want to come back and this is what I can bring to your organization. I bet my last dollar I would be the one to get the job. It doesn't matter. They're not worried about this is somebody coming back off of a 5-year scholarship, yada, yada, yada. I can assure you that employer is going to choose. And this is where the delicate dance comes in and the reality of preference from global recruitment. And this thing about choosing and naming who an employer or an organization must hire, that is illegal. You can challenge that as employers. This is not by any means barring any local. I'm just looking at just dignity, compliance, and following the law. Okay? I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. None. But let's continue. Andrew weighs in here and says, the sad reality is AI is going to take away 75% of these positions. We mentioned that. How are we preparing the next generation? We have seen and we have discussed this in great detail. And if you've listened and paid close attention to any of the parliamentary sessions where they talk about succession planning, preparing for the next generation, preparing for that next cycle, we just had the passing of the baton from one DG to the next. Many companies do not build Caymanian succession plans early enough. Bottom line, guilty. Guilty, guilty, guilty. And I'm quite sure if you would have the real conversations, even with our civil service, they will tell you, we really could have done a little better job. From legislations to policy and all that sort of stuff. But we're just looking at this broad, including the private sector. By the time a senior role becomes vacant, going back to private sector, you rarely find any Caymanian has been trained or mentored to step in. Rarely. Rare. So permits, again, in some cases, are renewed. We do have organizations, though. We do have organizations here where Caymanians are in top positions. And one of those organizations that, boom, comes to mind straight off the bat is CUC. Say what you want about them, but what they're with the rates, how everybody's blowing a gasket with these light bills. But I was very impressed at how I see them, climbing. And also water authority, which that is statutory authority. But let's go private. I stand to be corrected. What comes to the forefront of my mind right now is CUC. Please, there could be other accounting firms, law firms that can show you, I'm just what comes to the top of my mind and what I see based on attending events. Congratulations, CUC. We can see that happening in there. So you obviously got some succession planning going on. And what is good is that I'm seeing Caymanians take those roles. That speaks a lot about an organization. We also look at the whole economic growth outpacing Caymanian training. We say, the world ain't waiting on nobody. All of these regulations and stuff, freedom of information and FATCA and making sure we're this and we're that, because we're a financial jurisdiction, we're high risk and all of this. Look, the growth outpacing Caymanian training, period, that's a reality. And we're seeing Cayman's economy continues to grow at a pace that many of us are saying, like what 𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗶 is saying, it's at what point do we say stop, slow down? But is that realistic? Could we survive? if you say slow down, stop for the reason in which we're having this conversation today. The pace in which our economy is growing, especially in the financial services that we largely depend on income from, and also logistics. The data is proving it. But Caymanians cannot be trained at the same speed in which we're seeing our economy is growing. And it's because of that, we're seeing that demand rises and Caymanians' supply stays small. So here we go again. Permits are renewed to keep the economy running. This is not just based on the funds they can get from the work permits, but you keep the economy running when persons are filling the roles with the required qualifications, skill set at the pace in which is needed. You got to fill it somehow, right? Beautiful lies and ugly truth. It looked like its stamp and go for business license. The government past and possible present seem to do not have the wand of control to say, hey, we are not going to benefit from this right now. I don't know. But what we are seeing, though, beautiful lies, ugly truth, is that they are trying to create an environment for Caymanians that creates some sort of innovation, entrepreneurship opportunities. But here we go again. That now we're seeing is being exploited because some are taking that good graces and using it for convenience and bringing in family members, not having work for them, or becoming what you could call brokers. And it's almost like a form of work trafficking, human trafficking, almost. This is what's happening. Unintended consequences, but a good principle behind it at the end of the day. And this is why DCI were on Sandra's show, speaking about how they're going to be beefing up the enforcement arm. And I'm hoping in very short order that we would have the pleasure of having them on here to really look at exactly what the future looks like for DCI. And they're excited for all the great things that are happening in there. And the enforcement arm is really where it needs to be beefed up. So I'm hoping that they're funded adequately so that they can give their staff, especially the enforcement arm, the training, equipment, and processes, including systems that can deliver at pace so that we don't see an exploitation of the very same trade and business that were put in there to help create entrepreneurial opportunities, right? So that's what we're seeing. We also see where roles with low Caymanian interest. This is not limited here, for the record. Some roles attract fewer Caymanians applicants due to the long hours, physical demands, and lower starting salaries, bottom line. And when no Caymanian applies, renewals become automatic, even though what I'm understanding is that a lot of those positions right now are actually saying they're the ones that are being felt as though they're being going through the ringer, and the big companies are being rubber stamped once you're a big company. But the mom and pops are the ones who are having to pull everything left, right, and center out to try and justify that you legitimately need this gardener, this laborer, legitimately, because you got the contracts to prove it. But yet you're having to go through hoops and hurdles and to prove it, while the big boys that your numbers are proving is demanding it, gets a rubber stamper. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and everyone in the industry plays a role. But the big picture is here, my dear. Work permit renewals on their own are not just paperwork. What they have demonstrated based on the data that is out here is that work permit renewals they shape who stays in the job, who gains the experience, who becomes seniors, who leads departments, and who earns the highest salaries at the end of the day, and eventually transition to PR. That's the reality. Renewal patterns explains why Caymanians often feel outnumbered, outpaced, overlooked, even in a market where thousands of jobs are being posted. Yeah. And understanding this pattern, these cycles, is key, is essential for understanding our very own labor reality. But there are structural consequences from this, because at the end of the day, what happens when you find, as we find ourselves as a jurisdiction, that we must import labor to sustain the economy? That is a truth. And this is the part that I think that I feel we need to understand clearly. Not being disrespectful, but it's just facts. The numbers presented here, the report says it all. I just breaking it down in layman's terms. That's all I'm doing. Because what we're seeing here is that our very own economy grows, but the local population has not grown with it. And that, my friends, is coming home to roost and bearing a true reality that leads to Caymanians being outnumbered, Caymanians being outcompeted, that Caymanians are being outpriced, even in housing, as we still are grappling with filling this 3,000 gap of homes to be built. And that leads to Caymanians being outpaced in promotions. We also see where our culture and social pressures are increasing. We hear the callers talking about the loud music, respecting the flag, what you should do when our national hero dies. And I got some clarity on that as well. I think that question was asked on the Sandra show, and it was brought up here yesterday. It's a matter of discretion. You would hope that these private places honors that. Hey, how much are we going to dilute who we are when it comes to respect of lowering our flag when a hero passes on? Yeah. So that's an impact on culture and social pressures that we can see being increased by these harsh realities. And when the majority of the workforce is foreign, not Caymanian, Cayman identity feels diluted. You're screaming, you're becoming like, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with him? This is years on top of years of feeling your country opportunities literally feel like it's slipping through your fingers. And you're saying, we want legislation, we want policies to change to protect us, but it's a balancing act because you got an economy to keep afloat so that we can be able to, one, balance the books, two, maintain a certain lifestyle that we have all become accustomed to. But we don't want to sacrifice our culture, our heritage, who we are as a people in that process. And that's where I'm feeling a lot of you are screaming. When we see these cultural and social pressures increase, and when we see all of this, we become or be consumed with the feeling that we're undervalued. You're feeling that way with right now, how you're saying the law can't do this, the law can't do this. Oh, it's only in good graces. You feel undervalued. You feel disrespected. You're feeling invisible in decision. And you feel the same, even in those spaces where decisions can be made. We have seen other small island jurisdictions right now and natives are coming out, indigenous locals that are in much larger numbers than us, they are fighting for their place in their country. But what we are seeing is when a country like ours becomes dependent on imported labor, that dependency, my friends, as you can see here with these numbers, oh yeah, keeps the economy running. But it also creates vulnerabilities as well, and it increases inequality between locals and expatriates. And that is what we're feeling. That is what we're hearing. Yeah. There's some things that the report doesn't say, though, and I must be very honest with you, because it's missing some context, to say the least. The report is missing some context, to say the least. Let me just grab these 3 messages, and then I'll tell you what could be included to give a more wholesome, not criticizing, because I said they did a very good job, but we're just putting it into reality if we had some more information. Alejandro is saying, good evening. As our politician, it shouldn't be allowed to grow artificially because of the need of imported labor. Are we desperate as a country to reach these numbers to be globally acceptable? Excellent question. Excellent question. I just feel that, not answering on behalf of the government, but I like that, but weighing in based on the statistics that is here, and it is on the WORC Facebook page, I feel that we have created that environment, certain threshold, a certain income bracket, certain quality and standard of life, safety, beauty, everything where we're geographically located. We have created the perfect environment. But the realities of the demands for all of the high-paying positions that we are grappling for, 97% of these postings are for the private sector. And you see the numbers of employment for government civil service. But those positions continue to be some of the highest positions that required skill sets that not many Indigenous Caymanians actually possess. So the harsh reality is some of us may never reach those brackets. So how do we adjust our sails? What do we do? What do we do? So 1 second for me. We have a caller on hold, but it's very interesting. And I love that question. Live Happy is saying, we need to start pressing the brakes. It's affecting our environment too. If NASA wants to come here and set up shop and they need astronauts, do you think they're going to find Caymanian astronauts? Wow. The moral of the delivery is reaching home. Thank you. Thank you. But the system for NASA to come and set up shop and what it can bring to us where licensures are concerned would not be stopped. It would be great. But the key positions that you're alluding to definitely will not be Caymanians. But the structure, opportunities based on hope, based on promises, innovation, creating that opportunity, maybe one may actually do it. But the moral of the delivery, you got it. Beautiful Lies, Ugly Truth says, has any study been done on what it would take to keep the economy of the 30,000 plus people afloat? Let's hope we can cover some of that. We got a caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks.
Good evening, Sabrina, and good evening to your listeners. Very interesting discussion. This is a discussion which will never go away. We will always have a little bit of a new view here. Excuse me. Some old views there, and so forth. You see, what you're saying is 100% correct, but I just want to give it also a little bit of a perspective. You see, the Cayman economy is very interesting in the sense that, yes, we need people to come in from outside and to take up certain jobs that local people cannot do. Mm-hmm. And that is a fact. But the problem sometimes is that even when we have somebody who is a local person who can do a particular job, a Caymanian, we don't want to give it to them. That just exacerbates the problem. Okay? You've got people like in the judiciary. I'll mention a name because the person is no longer in the judiciary, is now in the private sector, 𝗂𝗲𝗿𝗄𝗏. 𝗂𝗲𝗿𝗄𝗏 had 23 years experience as a litigation lawyer in the AG's chambers, and she then, towards the end of her tenure in government, she became courts administrator, which is chief officer for the judiciary, which again she learned about the judiciary from another aspect, and she even went to the UK to do a special course about the administrative side of the judiciary. But since she was in that position, once or twice, I think there were jobs of judges which opened up. But on the assumption that she would have wanted to get into those jobs, she wasn't given that opportunity. I am ready to assume that she would have wanted to be a judge. A lot of lawyers, particularly if they've been in the public sector for a long time, they tend to, if they haven't gone to the private sector, like after 10, 15 years, the chances are that if you appoint them to be judges, they are going to be judges. How come today she was never made a judge? There was Miss 𝗖𝘆𝗆 before that, one of the early, if not the first Caymanian 𝗘𝗂𝗁. She wound up, she was in private sector for a long time, and then she wound up being a magistrate, part-time magistrate, never became a judge, and finally retired. So there is also this problem that even when there are local people who can do certain jobs, the government doesn't take enough measures to give them those jobs. Now, sometimes the excuse is, well, but you see, they need to upskill themselves. You tell me what somebody like 𝗂𝗲𝗿𝗄𝗏 or 𝗖𝘆𝗆𝗆 would have needed in terms of upskilling for them to be judges. Okay, so that's a problem the government has never addressed. And then, on top of that, there is this issue that once somebody, a Caymanian, is put in a particular position, it is very easy to remove them. Okay? Now, I want to talk about the ombudsman again, but I don't want to repeat what I
don't
said
want you to go there. I don't want you to go too deep into that, because I'm not cutting you, because I want to cover the part what the report doesn't say.
Okay, yeah.
That's the reason why. So don't go
in that.
Yes, please.
Yeah, not deeply. All I want to say about that is this. If the ombudsman is ever removed for cause, your own Caymanian, she will be so much hurt in her career, in the sense that she will lose reputation. In most countries, if you go to seek, say, to be called to the bar or even to be appointed a judge, what they will do is they will say, have you ever been removed for cause? Okay? So that if she is not successful in challenging her attempted removal, there will be a problem in that she will be left tainted. Whenever she wants to be called to the bar or maybe to be appointed to be a judge in any other jurisdiction, they will ask, have you ever been removed for cause? She would have to say yes. What have you done? Again, you have made another Caymanian, like, instead of opening up even further opportunities for her, you are now destroying opportunities. But let me end on this. Let me end on the issue, for example, about Sandra. Sandra studied law. She got a degree, and she did the PPC. My assumption is that she wanted to be called to the bar. According to what I was told unofficially, there was not a single law firm which was ready to give her articles, and that includes the government. What does it do? Your local person has trained very well, and maybe has she been called to the bar, she could have gone out there. She could have gone out there, build a big law firm, give opportunities to other Caymanians to come into it. But what have you done? You have ended up putting her in a position where now she's doing something else, doing something very well in that other area. But do you see, this is just an example how sometimes you put down your own people, and when you put down your own people, then it becomes a problem that you are shooting yourselves in the foot. But let me, let me just end there. That's the point I wanted to make. I think it is very important that what you are saying is absolutely correct, and the report has to be addressed and so on. It's a pity that I joined you a little bit early and so on. But I think there's some ironing out of some creases which needs to be done in relation to the government failing to do the most that it can do to ensure that even if it needs people from outside, it can maximize on those people that it has. Let me leave you there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your commentary.
Goodbye.
Yes, sure. Bye-bye. Yes, there is merit, a lot of merit to what he's saying, and which is why I applaud them for putting this metrics out there. But it also is bringing a reality to exactly the market that we're in, the environment that we're in. Andrew Wade, and just as that caller was saying, is that his comment is the question that we all have to ask ourselves is, what price are we paying for progress? Is our social fabric deteriorating faster than it's improving with creating more jobs for imported labor? We have forgotten we are an island, not Manhattan, New York City. What people came here for was our people and our culture, island-style living and food, heritage of the Cayman Islands. Alejandro continues to weigh in and comments that those work permit holders, if no connection with Caymanian, should never qualify unless in legitimate in love / marriage through good recommendation, government agent marriage officer. But there are some metrics that is missing from this. And if you've noticed, while that caller was on, I posted this up here. And this was significant because look at this, what this graph is saying, this flyer, this post. What this is saying is job postings required by the level of education that was pointed out in the data for June of 2026. And it says 18% required a certificate, diploma, some college or university. 1% required a master's degree or doctoral degree. 20% required an associate's degree or bachelor's degree. And then high school, below high school or equivalent equated to 61%. That is job posting by required education of June 2026. Okay. What we see here is job posting by required education and median annual salary is that for a doctoral degree, based on the information and the postings of all these, this website, this is what it showed. The annual income for having a doctoral degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, some college or university ended up being like $49,746 a year. Associate's degree, $43,758. Certificate or diploma, you're looking at $39,701. Below high school, $25,316. High school or equivalent, $25,075. So you look at where the high salary is right now, $112,972. That's the salary for having a doctoral degree. Okay. So, and this is what is actually fueling the labor demand, and that's the salary that goes along with it. But we really are talking about, or hardly ever talk about in these reports, the missing metrics. And that is what's missing from here. And what I'm talking about is the numbers that actually tell us how really and truly Caymanians are doing in our own market, right? And what this 2026 labor demand report gives us a demand, it does, but it does not give us Caymanian outcomes. That's one of the things that I picked up on immediately. And without these Caymanian outcomes, we cannot have a full, honest picture of really what's happening, to be honest. We will continue to talk about it on platforms like this. But you're really not having a true sense of really what's happening on the ground. And the report is really tell us how many jobs were advertised, what roles are in demand, we're seeing it, and what qualifications is required for these roles, what salaries are being offered. But what it does not tell us is how many Caymanians applied. Yeah. We need to know how many Caymanians actually applied for the jobs being advertised. And without this data, without these numbers, this 1,896 job postings tells us nothing about Caymanian participation. It really doesn't. And then you look then at how much Caymanians are really qualified, right? When you look at the Caymanian qualification matching rates, Caymanians of this who applied, how many really met the minimum qualifications? And this would show whether or not our education and training systems align with our labor demand, which we are realizing that it's not in alliance. In our economy, the environment is growing much faster than we can produce qualified locals in order to fill the jobs. And we have come to the harsh reality that we will never have a Caymanian filling every role. Okay, so we passed that. But then what's also missing is how many Caymanians were indeed hired. This is the most important missing metric of this document. How many Caymanians were hired compared to expatriates? And this tells us whether or not opportunities is translating into actual employment. We can expand this a little bit more too as well, because you're seeing based on the metrics here on the screen that I have, when you look then at the amount of work permits overall, 97% coming in from the private sector, how many work permits were renewed for roles that Caymanians applied for is another metric that is missing. And this, my friends, would reveal whether Caymanians are being bypassed for continuity reasons. There's another section that is also silent. And that is the section that talks about promotion and outcomes for locals. How many Caymanians were promoted into senior roles? And how many expatriates were promoted instead? This, my friends, would show upward mobility or a lack thereof. Lack of it. Then you can expand that even more to say, if we're going to be on this data and definitely getting the information, the metrics presented here is also absent from how many Caymanians are working below their skill level or degree level. And this is a hidden issue in small economies. And that is very important. And it needs to be measured, to be honest. When you look again at expanding this report a little bit more for some ideas, how many Caymanians lost job due to restructuring or let's say, the big one, outsourcing? How many Caymanians? Or go back to the conversation of work permit renewals. Because this, my friends, this affects families directly, yet it is never reported, and I stand to be corrected. How many Caymanians lost their job due to restructuring, outsourcing, or permit renewals? Yeah. Remember, we dabbled a little bit into succession planning? How many companies have active audited succession plans for Caymanians? How many are actually implementing them if they have them? Because this is essential. This is very essential for long-term Caymanian advancement as well. Some of you may say, oh, she's just being overdramatic. these are missing metrics from reports like these that would paint a bigger, better picture if we had some numbers, is all I'm alluding to. And then we look then at, as well, metrics that is not included, that could be expanded on, is training and development access for locals. How many Caymanians receive employer-funded training? How many expatriates receive the same? And this would show whether or not Caymanians are being prepared for promotions or not. A WhatsApp just came in. Good evening, Sabrina. WORC is not working for Caymanians, but for expats. And I'm just reading a WhatsApp message that came in. When you look at it as well and expand again, missing metrics from this information is salary comparison. Caymanians versus expats. Metrics that is missing. Are Caymanians being paid equally for the same roles? Because this also is essential for fairness and transparency. Yeah. Time to hire for Caymanians. Another missing metric that could be included that's not being said. How long does it take for a Caymanian applicant to be hired compared to an expatriate? Long delays often push employers, we see, toward permit renewals. But is that by choice? Or is that just something that is created? I'm just dropping the question out there. Yeah. Andrew's weighing in. It's happening right before us, and some of us see what is happening. Beautiful lies, ugly truth, and how much is willing to train on the job? Excellent questions, guys. I love it. Andrew saying a single person needs to earn $50,000 to $60,000 a year to afford a comfortable standard of living. This income can only come from private sector or specialized areas like banking, trust companies, and certain areas in government. What would be interesting is to know the breakdown of how many skilled labor work permits we have. See, you're asking for additional metrics that could be included. It actually paints a picture at the end of the day, you know. Live Happy says they don't care about Caymanians. They would say that's the government's responsibility. They are just here to make money. After all, it's a business. Denver, where have you been? You've been circling the world? Restructuring Caymanians first. And yes, missing metrics, so no proper accountability. Expats gets training from Caymanians who get a higher pay and later made redundant. Alejandro continues to weigh in this evening. WORC has only categorized Caymanians at the same category as foreigners, and that's non-discriminatory. And he says, where is Caymanian employment programs only for generations Caymanians, especially graduates? I think you're saying generational Caymanians. Yeah. So at the end of the day, there are some missing metrics that would paint a bigger picture. And we can expand that even into how many Caymanians are currently in fields that are driving labor demand, law, logistics, mathematics, financial services, and even senior management. Because this information, these metrics, if we were included, this shows whether Caymanians are present where opportunity is the strongest. But if it's not there, we don't know. Then there's also an extension of it where there's youth pipeline strength. That's another area. How many Caymanian students are studying for roles that are in demand right now? And this would predict or assist us in predicting, assist us in forecasting labor supply and long-term sustainability as well. At the end of the day, how many Caymanians follow the recruitment or the requirement, follow the requirements that is needed to consider Caymanians first? How many employers really follow that? And how many did not? We've heard some stories coming out, but people are scared to talk. This, as Denver alluded to, is essential for accountability. Another big missing piece of the metrics is Caymanian exit interview information. Why are Caymanians leaving certain jobs? This information, this data is critical for understanding workplace challenges. I mean, if they're leaving, might as well you be honest, right? But with a society this small, everyone has somebody somewhere, and the fear of somebody speaking to someone may block your opportunities in another organization. But without the data, we don't get a real sense or a true picture of really what's happening. The impact of imported labor on Caymanian opportunities is another missing metric. How does the size of the expatriate workforce affect promotions, hiring, salary levels, competition, and even workplace culture? This, my friends, is the core structural reality of a small island economy just like ours. And without these numbers, these missing metrics, the public sees opportunity, but not the full picture. But there is work that has started. I thank them for putting the numbers out there. Yeah, the numbers are there. But where do we go from here? Yeah, where do we go from here? Because read that document yourself is why the missing metrics puts it all in full perspective. But it looks as though opportunities are there, but not meeting the skill sets. And that's why we're feeling like we're fighting a losing battle. This is what the environment is applying. That's what the job postings are. And I love it. I love it. You're you're made a step in the right direction. But the missing metrics is vital. So we're halfway there, but there's still some work to do. So I don't want anybody to get up in their feelings saying, ungrateful, we put it out there and now they're using it against us. No, you would be surprised how this helps you because people get a better understanding of really what people are looking for in the workforce. And trust me, it gives you an opportunity to look in the mirror. Well, hey, if this is the demand out there, Sabrina, you ain't ready. Let me see if I can readjust my sales and probably try to do something on my own because there's no way in hell, based on this data, that I'm going to stand a chance into that environment. And I'm only one. How much of these positions are being put up? The pace of our economy growing and people needing it? That's why we love platforms like this. Visionaries, entrepreneurs. Look at Sandra, what she's done with this. Yes, I have to keep using her as an example. She didn't wait for this metrics. She saw it early. Mr. 𝗶𝗏𝗄 shared that story. The woman didn't roll over and play dead, and she's creating opportunities for others. Who's going to be the next innovator to help themselves? Because you can see the environment that we're in right now. We're competing globally. And there is hope. There is hope. But time does not permit me. I will use just half hour tomorrow to just let you know some suggestions for the path forward. We can share those tomorrow, the first half of the Sabrina Speaks, as we continue to dissect and uncover this. Let's take the last couple of questions because I'm going into a little bit overtime and I don't want to get in trouble. Denver is saying, Cayman Islands government is not properly trying to protect its people. Honorable Mr. Michael Miles is definitely working on it. Made a post today about 𝗵𝗆𝗇 protecting the Barbados people from companies exploiting money from the people. Our government must take advice and step up to the plate. Alejandro is saying Caymanians are the only product that we have to offer in this mixed economy, and they now want us no way are the people interested in these jobs and are gathered to import someone to take the job. Live Happy is saying, this is like a runaway train. We just can't leave the economy, let the economy grow like a weed out of control. Alejandro is for the final message. A lot of these jobs / new business are also undesirable to Caymanians, either from differences such as culture norms or religious differences. I want to tell you, thank you so much for your comments, for your feedback, for your engagement, and of course, Mr. 𝗶𝗏𝗄, for your call. And tomorrow we will pick up where I can just share again as a tag on to some of the missing metrics, some ideas in the path forward. Please join me tomorrow for another episode or a continued episode of Sabrina Speaks right here on the CMRTV.com platform, kicking off at 5 o'clock after the whole shout outs and that part where we just have some fun. We get into it and we'll pick up right where we left off today. Please do have a good evening. Please be safe. And thank you for joining me. Good night. Stay safe. God bless. Love you lots. See you tomorrow.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.